The day everything changed. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge window of the UHS Retribution, watching stars that once filled her with wonder. Now they only reminded her of empty space, where her sister's voice used to reach her across the void. 3 years had passed since the Harmony Colony massacre, but Sarah could still hear Emma's final transmission as clearly as if it happened yesterday. The bridge around her hummed with quiet efficiency. Every surface was painted in deep blue with silver accents, humanity's new colors of war. Gone were the bright whites and cheerful yellows of exploration vessels. The human fleet had learned that the universe was not as friendly as they had hoped. Sarah's communication officer, Lieutenant James Park, turned from his station. "Captain, we're receiving another peace transmission from the Galactic Council. Should I put it through?" Sarah almost smiled, but the expression felt foreign on her face. She had not truly smiled since the day she watched her home colony burn from space. "Play it, Lieutenant. Let's hear what they have to say this time." The main screen flickered to life, showing Ambassador Zixtal of the Galactic Council. The alien's blue skin seemed pale, and its 4 arms moved nervously as it spoke. "People of Earth, we come once again with offers of peace. The Vorthic Empire has been punished for their actions at Harmony Colony. Surely now is the time for healing." Sarah turned away from the screen. Healing. The word felt like poison in her mind. How could anyone heal from what the Vorthak had done? How could anyone forget? 3 years ago, Harmony Colony had been humanity's pride. 75,000 people lived on that green world at the edge of known space. They grew food that fed a dozen worlds. They built schools where human children learned alongside young aliens from friendly species. Emma had been the colony's head of agriculture, working 16-hour days to perfect new crops that could grow in alien soil. Sarah remembered her last conversation with her sister. Emma had been excited about a new grain that could feed millions. "Sarah, you should see the golden fields we're growing here. This grain could end hunger on 12 worlds. The Therian refugees are crying tears of joy just touching the soil. We're really making a difference out here." That was Emma. Always thinking about others, always trying to help. She had never hurt anyone in her life. None of the colonists had. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, engineers. They were the best of humanity, sent to the stars to plant seeds of friendship across the galaxy. The Vorthic Empire had other plans. Sarah walked to her command chair and activated her personal logs. The files appeared on her private screen. Footage that the Galactic Council tried to make humanity forget. But Sarah had memorized every frame, every sound, every moment of horror. The attack had come without warning. 30 Vorthak warships dropped out of hyperspace around Harmony Colony at dawn. They did not send messages. They did not make demands. They simply opened fire on the orbital defense platforms that were designed to stop asteroids, not warships. Within minutes, the colony's small defense force was destroyed. The colonists sent desperate messages to Earth, knowing help was weeks away. Sarah had been serving on a patrol ship in the Outer Rim when the first distress signals reached them. She remembered the ice that filled her veins when she heard Emma's voice on the emergency channel. "This is Emma Chen, Harmony Colony Agricultural Division. We are under attack by unknown vessels. They're landing troops in the main settlement. We need immediate assistance. Repeat, we need help." That was the last normal transmission from Harmony Colony. What happened next was something the galaxy had never seen before. The Vorthak did not simply destroy the colony from orbit. They landed troops. They went house to house, building to building. They hunted down every human they could find. Men, women, children, elderly. They captured them all. Then they set up cameras. Sarah's hands tightened on her chair as she remembered the videos the Vorthak broadcast across the galaxy. They wanted everyone to see what happened when a species dared to spread beyond their home system without permission. They recorded everything. The executions, the burning buildings, the crying children calling for parents who would never answer. The Vorthak filmed Emma's final moments. Sarah's sister had been found hiding in the grain storage facility with 37 children whose parents had already been killed. Emma had been reading them a story to keep them calm, her voice steady even as explosion sounds got closer. Once upon a time, Emma had said, there was a princess who planted magic seeds across the land. Everywhere, the seeds grew, people had enough food to eat and were happy. Her voice had cracked slightly as armored footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. The princess knew that even when darkness came, the seeds would remember the light and grow again. The storage room door had exploded inward. Vorthek soldiers in blood-red armor had poured inside. Emma had stood in front of the children, her arms spread wide, as if her small body could protect them all. Please, she had said to the soldiers, they're just children. Take me, but let them go. The lead soldier had looked directly into the camera as he raised his weapon. When he spoke, his voice was translated by the universal communicator into perfect English. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who plant seeds in our territory. Sarah closed the log file. She had watched it thousands of times, and it never got easier. The Vorthak had sent those videos to every world in known space. They wanted to terrify other species, to show them the price of defying Vorthak expansion. They had made one critical mistake. They thought the videos would make humanity afraid. Instead, they made humanity angry. The response had been swift and total. Every human ship, every space station, every colony received the same message from Earth Command. Effective immediately, all human vessels are recalled to Sol system. Prepare for war. Admiral Elena Rodriguez had been placed in command of the entire human space fleet. Sarah remembered the Admiral's first broadcast to the assembled fleet. Over 3,000 ships of every size and type, from massive battleships to small courier vessels. Fellow humans, Admiral Rodriguez had said, standing before cameras in Earth's military headquarters. The galaxy has shown us its true face. They allowed the Vorthak to massacre our people while they watched. They called it regrettable. They offered us compensation, as if our dead could be purchased. The Admiral had paused, her dark eyes reflecting the anger that burned in every human heart. But we are not a species that forgets. We are not a species that forgives monsters. Today, we begin Operation Remembrance. We will hunt down every Vorthak involved in the Harmony Colony massacre. We will find every ship, every soldier, every officer who participated in that atrocity, and we will make sure they understand that humanity remembers. The transformation had been remarkable to witness. Humanity had always been explorers, scientists, diplomats. They had joined the galactic community with open hands and hopeful hearts. But Emma's death, the death of all 75,000 colonists, had awakened something else, something older and darker that had once helped humans survive on a hostile world called Earth. Human ships had disappeared from the trade routes. Human diplomats had left their posts without explanation. Human colonies had gone silent, their populations apparently vanished overnight. The galaxy had wondered where humanity had gone. The answer came 3 months later when the first Vorthak fleet simply disappeared. Then another. Then entire Vorthak colonies went dark, their populations evacuated in the middle of the night, leaving only empty buildings and the smell of fear. The humans had learned to hunt. Sarah's communication officer interrupted her thoughts. Captain, Admiral Rodriguez is requesting a conference call with all ship commanders. Sarah nodded. These calls happened every week now. Updates on Operation Remembrance, new target assignments, intelligence reports. The human fleet had become something the galaxy had never seen before. A coordinated hunting pack with the patience of predators and the technology of a spacefaring civilization. The screen changed to show Admiral Rodriguez on the bridge of the flagship UHS Vengeance. Behind her, Sarah could see the same blue and silver colors that marked all human vessels now. The Admiral looked older than her 50 years, her black hair streaked with premature gray. The weight of leading humanity's transformation from explorers to warriors showed in every line of her face. Captains, Admiral Rodriguez began, I have updates on our progress. Vorthek General Krax, the architect of the Harmony Colony massacre, was eliminated yesterday by Strike Team 7. His command ship was intercepted while trying to flee to the Andromeda Galaxy. A quiet cheer went up from the assembled captains. General Krax had been #1 on humanity's target list, the monster who had given the order to record the massacre and broadcast it across the galaxy. However, the Admiral continued. His death has prompted another round of peace negotiations from the Galactic Council. They're claiming that humanity has become a threat to galactic stability. They want us to stop our hunting operations in exchange for reparations and territory. Sarah felt her jaw tighten. After 3 years of war, the galaxy suddenly wanted peace, not when the Vorthak were massacring human civilians, but now that humanity was fighting back effectively. "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked Captain Morrison from the UH Reaper. Admiral Rodriguez looked directly into the camera, her eyes holding the same cold fire that burned in every human who remembered Harmony Colony. "We do not negotiate with those who stood by and watched our people die. We do not make peace with a galaxy that calls genocide regrettable. Operation Remembrance continues until every Vorthak war criminal is brought to justice." The conference call ended, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts. Outside the bridge windows, space looked the same as it always had. Endless darkness punctuated by distant stars. But Sarah knew the truth. The darkness was not empty. It was full of human ships, moving like shadows between the stars, hunting the monsters who thought they could murder innocents without consequence. She thought about Emma's last words, about magic seeds that would remember the light and grow again. Her sister had been wrong about one thing. The seeds that humanity planted in the darkness were not growing into food or flowers. They were growing into justice, cold and patient and inevitable. The galaxy wanted peace, but humanity remembered the blood. When predators become prey. 3 years had passed since humanity began its transformation from explorers to hunters, and the galaxy had learned to fear the sound of human engines in the night. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the grand chamber of Galactic Station 1, the massive space station that served as the meeting place for the Galactic Council. She was not here as a guest. The station's main conference hall could hold representatives from 1,000 different species. Today, it was packed. Alien delegates from across the galaxy had come to witness what many hoped would be the end of humanity's war of vengeance. They filled the massive chamber like a rainbow of different forms, some tall and thin, others short and round, some that floated in tanks of exotic gases, others that existed as patterns of pure energy. Sarah walked down the central aisle between the seated delegates, her boots clicking against the polished metal floor. Behind her walked Commander Lu Zhang, leader of humanity's Special Operations Forces, and Dr. Marcus Webb, the former colony administrator who had survived Harmony Colony by being off-world during the massacre. Their presence was not accidental. Sarah wanted the galaxy to see the faces of those who remembered. The human delegation took their seats at the center of the chamber. Around them, the alien delegates whispered in languages that sounded like music, like breaking glass, like ocean waves. But Sarah could read the emotion in their body language regardless of their species. They were afraid. Ambassador Zixtol of the Galactic Council rose from his crystalline chair. The blue-skinned alien's 4 arms moved nervously as he activated the chamber's translation systems. His voice, converted to perfect English, echoed from speakers throughout the massive hall. "Honored delegates of the Galactic Council," he began, "we gather today to address the actions of the species known as humanity. For 3 years, human forces have conducted military operations across 17 sectors of space. They have eliminated over 2,000 Vorthak military personnel and destroyed hundreds of Vorthak installations." A murmur went through the assembled delegates. Sarah noticed that none of them mentioned why humanity had begun these operations. None of them spoke about Harmony Colony. Ambassador Zixtol continued, "The Galactic Council acknowledges that the initial attack on the human colony of Harmony was regrettable. The Vorthak Empire has been censured for their actions. Reparations have been authorized. It is time for healing. Sarah stood slowly, her movement causing immediate silence throughout the chamber. When she spoke, her voice was calm but carried clearly to every corner of the massive hall. Regrettable, she repeated. You use that word as if it means something, as if it can bring back the dead. She pressed a control on her wrist device. The chamber's massive holographic display activated, showing the face of a young woman with kind eyes and dirt under her fingernails. It was Emma, photographed just days before the massacre while working in the colony's agricultural fields. This is my sister, Emma Chen. She was 32 years old. She grew food that fed hungry refugees from 12 different worlds. She never hurt anyone in her life. Sarah's voice remained steady, but something in her tone made even the largest aliens in the chamber shift uncomfortably. The hologram changed to show other faces: men, women, children, elderly colonists. All of them smiling, all of them alive in these pictures taken in happier times. These are the people you call regrettable. Sarah continued. 75,000 human beings who died because the Vorthic Empire decided they didn't have the right to exist in what they considered their territory. Ambassador Zixel's blue skin had taken on a paler shade. Captain Chen, surely after 3 years of conflict, it is time to consider peace. The cycle of violence must end somewhere. Sarah almost smiled. Peace. You want to talk about peace now? Where was this concern for peace 3 years ago? Where were the emergency sessions of the Galactic Council when human children were being executed on live broadcasts? Where were the calls for justice when the Vorthak were sending those videos to every world in the galaxy as a threat? Dr. Marcus Webb stood beside Sarah. He was a thin man who looked older than his 45 years. The weight of being one of the few survivors of Harmony Colony showed in his hollow eyes. I was the colony administrator, he said quietly. I was off-world on a diplomatic mission when the attack happened. I watched the massacre from a communication relay station 3 systems away. I heard my friends die over the radio. I listened to families calling for help that never came. The chamber had become completely silent. Even the automatic systems seemed to hum more quietly. The Vorthak didn't just kill our people, Dr. Webb continued. They filmed it. They broadcast it. They wanted the galaxy to see what happened to humans who dared to plant crops in space they claimed as their own. And what did the Galactic Council do? You filed a formal complaint. You imposed economic sanctions that lasted 6 months. You called it regrettable. Commander Liu Zhang stepped forward. He was a compact man with scars on his hands and the quiet movements of someone who had spent 3 years hunting in the dark between stars. The galaxy wants to know why humans have become dangerous, he said. You want to understand why your precious peace has been disturbed. Let me explain it in terms you might understand. You taught us that the universe respects only strength. You showed us that peaceful cooperation means nothing when faced with those who choose violence. You demonstrated that justice is something each species must provide for itself. Sarah activated another control. The holographic display changed to show a star chart with hundreds of red markers scattered across 17 sectors of space. Each red marker represents a Vorthak installation that no longer exists, she said. Ships that will never attack innocent colonies. Officers who will never give orders to massacre civilians. Soldiers who will never point weapons at children. The alien delegates stared at the display in horror. The scope of humanity's 3-year campaign was laid out before them like a surgical operation conducted across a significant portion of the galaxy. Ambassador Zixel's voice cracked slightly when he spoke. Captain Chen, surely you can see that this path leads only to more destruction. The Vorthak Empire is broken. Their military capability is reduced by 80%. Is that not enough? Sarah turned to face the Galactic Council's central platform, where the most powerful species in the galaxy sat in judgment. Enough. You think there's a number of dead Vorthak that will balance the scales. You think this is about revenge. She pressed another control. The display changed to show footage from recent human operations, not the violence, but the aftermath. Liberated prison camps where the Vorthak had been holding captured populations from other species, slave colonies that had been freed, trade routes that were now safe from Vorthak raiders. This is what you call destruction, Sarah said. Human forces have liberated 47 prison camps, freed over 2 million enslaved beings from 17 different species, and eliminated 3 major piracy networks. The Vorthak weren't just our enemies. They were everyone's enemies. You just didn't have the courage to do anything about it. Commander Liu Zhang spoke again. The galaxy wants peace now because they're afraid. They've realized that humans don't fight like other species. We don't follow your rules of honorable combat. We don't give warnings before we strike. We don't spare war criminals because they surrender. We learned from you that the universe is not a safe place for the weak. Dr. Webb pulled out a small device and set it on the chamber floor. A hologram appeared showing the Harmony colony as it had been before the attack. Green fields, happy families, children playing in parks built under alien skies. This was our dream, he said softly. A place where different species could work together. Where human children could grow up alongside alien friends. Where we could contribute to the galaxy instead of just taking from it. His voice grew harder. The Vorthak murdered that dream. And all of you watched it happen. Sarah looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. Some showed guilt, others fear, a few showed anger. But none showed the understanding she was looking for. You want peace, she said finally. But you want peace on your terms. You want us to forget what happened. You want us to pretend that filing reports and paying reparations can bring back the dead. You want us to return to being the naive species that thought the galaxy was full of friends. She gestured to the holographic display showing human military operations. This is what happens when you teach a species that they can only rely on themselves. This is what happens when you show a civilization that the universe respects only strength. You created us. Ambassador Zixtal made one final attempt. What would it take for humanity to consider peace negotiations? What are your terms? Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Our terms are simple. Complete justice for every being responsible for the Harmony Colony massacre. Full accountability for every government that stood by and allowed it to happen. And assurance that nothing like this will ever happen again to any peaceful species. But the Vorthak leadership is dead. Another delegate protested. Their military is destroyed. What more can be done? Commander Liu Zhang smiled, and the expression was not comforting. The Vorthak military leadership is gone, yes, but the civilian leadership that authorized the massacre is still alive. The governments that supplied them with weapons are still in power. The species that cheered when they broadcast our people's deaths are still celebrating. The chamber erupted in nervous chatter. Sarah let the noise continue for a moment before raising her hand for silence. The galaxy begged for peace, she said, but humanity remembers the bloodshed. We remember every name, every face, every child who died while you watched. And we will continue to remember until justice is complete. She turned to leave, followed by her companions. At the chamber entrance, she paused and looked back at the hundreds of alien delegates watching her with fear in their eyes. You wanted to teach us how the universe really works, Sarah said. Congratulations, we learned. As the human delegation left the chamber, the assembled aliens sat in stunned silence. Outside the station, in the darkness between stars, human ships waited with the patience of predators who had learned that justice sometimes had to be taken rather than given. The galaxy had pleaded for peace, but humanity remembered the massacre, and they would keep remembering until the debt was paid in full.